Welcome back to the Barbecue Lab. I'm David, and it's our goal to bring you the best outdoor cooking gear and techniques to help you win your weekend. Pit Boss recently released their first line of standalone griddles, and we put their 4-burner to the test coming up. Pit Boss has entered the griddle market to compete head-on with Blackstone, who's been the primary manufacturer in the space for a few years now. Today we're looking at the Pit Boss Standard Griddle. It's a 4-burner griddle that gives you about 748 square inches of cooking surface. And I've just got to say, it is a huge amount of cooking space. So we're talking about a cooking surface that measures 37 inches wide by 20.5 inches deep. There's so many things you can do on this surface. It is absolutely massive. Now, this grill weighs about 108 pounds, and so it's not exactly a lightweight, but it's not exactly a heavyweight contender either. They call this a portable grill, which means that the legs fold up and down, but it does still weigh about 108 pounds, so hefting it into the back of the truck or the van is going to take a second pair of hands most likely. Now, this is very like a hibachi grill in its size. Now, it's not stainless steel like you normally see at a hibachi restaurant, but it's still non-stick, especially once you've done the right seasoning to the top. Now, we have a video that's out that we'd love to share with you about how to season your griddle. Then we'll put it up in the YouTube card as well as put it in the description below. But seasoning your griddle is all about trying to help make sure that that steel releases the food and it's non-stick. Basically, the thing about this griddle is that it is about 4.7 millimeters thick. Now, when you think about 4.7 millimeters in thickness, that's something that we don't talk a lot about in the United States. We don't really deal a lot in millimeters, we deal in inches. But let me just say that this griddle surface is heavy. It is super, super weighty, and this thing weighs so much. I would say most of the weight in this unit is in the cooking surface itself. So I don't have a scale here, but if I did, I would be able to put this cooking surface on the scale. But my guess is the cooking surface itself probably weighs between 60 and 70 pounds. It takes 2 of us to be able to lift the top off and put it back on because, one, of just the massive size, but 2, the fact that it weighs so much. Now, if we take the griddle off and we look under the cooking surface, what you're going to see is 4 different burners. Of those 4 burners, 3 of them are a straight tube burner variety, and 1 is a U-shaped burner that's located on the left side of the grill. Now, when you look at this, you wonder, why did they use 3 straight tube burners and 1 U-shaped burner on the left side? Well, the reason is because of the drip cup that's on the front. This drip cup on the front makes it so that as you clean the grill or you take grease and you try to take it off of the grill as you're cleaning up, you have a place to be able to put that. And this little slot on the front left corner of the griddle makes it so you can do that. And there's a nice little drip cup underneath. But with the drip cup being underneath, they couldn't put a 4th and a 5th straight in line tube burner. So you have the U burner on that left side. Now, it totally makes sense. But the thing is that those burners don't necessarily run evenly. So to get it to run even, what I usually do is set the right 3 burners to about 30% less than the left burner, because we're not finding that those burners have the exact same output across the griddle. Now, if you wanted to run this griddle completely wide open, meaning everything completely on high, then you can definitely do that. What you'll have, though, is you'll have a searing zone off to the right 2/3 of the grill, and you'll have more of a warm zone on the left, or to keep warm or not quite sear, maybe saute. But what we found is that on the right side of the griddle, you can get that blazing hot to the point you can burn about whatever you want to put on there if you're not careful. On the left-hand side, it doesn't get quite as hot, though, because of that U-shaped burner, and that's actually fine with us. What we learned is that as we're cooking, we generally sear things on the right. We'll move them off to the left to keep them warm or even saute longer term, and it ends up working out. Now, would I love to have equal control across the entire griddle? Sure, but at this price point, I'm actually okay with the idea of saying that on the right-hand side is where I can get most of my heat, and on the left-hand side is where I do most of my warming and even lighter tasks like that. So if you're looking at a griddle that is completely even all the way across the top for all 30 plus inches, this probably isn't the one if you want to run it full sear all the way through. Now let's talk about the cart for a second. The cart underneath has a shelf that goes the entire width of the griddle, and we find it extremely helpful for storing all kinds of things under the griddle. Now, it also has locking wheels underneath, and it's not just 2 locking wheels. This unit has 4 locking wheels, which I absolutely love. These are the types of locks that also you don't have to put your foot underneath the lock. This lock has a little bevel on the top that you can kick with your foot to release. And I actually love that because, I mean, my shoes end up getting, torn because of all the grills that I'm moving around here at the lab. So I like this wheel setup on this unit. And I think moving it around is especially easy. Now, here in the lab, we have a couple different sections that we can roll it around on. We have a straight, concrete floor. It's extremely easy to move it around on that. We even have a carpeted section here in the lab. And the carpeted section is a little bit harder to move it around on, as you would expect, because of the weight and the wheels. But the idea is that I can move it around the driveway, I can move it around the concrete floor, I can move it around the patio, even on the carpet, and this unit moves around really well. And it makes staying in place extremely easy because you're really talking about 4 wheels that you can lock down, and this thing is not going anywhere. Now, there are 2 shelves on the unit. There's one on the left side and one on the right side, and both shelves do fold down and to collapse for storage. But one side has the propane tank, and when you actually look at the propane tank on the side, as long as that propane tank is being held on the tank holder, you can't fold down that side shelf. So if you're going to store this grill with the propane stuck onto the grill, you can't collapse that side shelf. On the other side, you can collapse that side shelf just about any time. So when you go to store the grill, you can collapse one side. It gives it a little bit smaller footprint if you want to stick it in the garage or keep it stored inside. Now, we find that if we're going to put it away for any amount of time, we'll take the propane tank off and be able to stick the griddle off to the side of the garage, and we'll collapse both shelves that way and save ourselves an extra foot. The tank holder is something that we ought to talk about a little bit too. Now, when you look at how you hold a propane tank on this grill, there's a little handle on the top of the unit that the handle of the propane tank rests in, and the propane tank hangs from the top of the grill. There's also a little notch in the bottom of the cart where the bottom of the tank can rest. So you can rest the bottom of the tank and put the handle of the tank into the holder, and it's a very secure way to hold your propane tank on there. The only downside we found is getting the propane tank off of that arm in the hook is actually quite a pain. It's made to go on there and stay, and it's hard to get off. You almost have to get down on your knees and get the tank to grab it to get off of there. So if you're not one that wants to get on your knees and have to fiddle with propane tanks and things, that might be an issue for you. We have gotten to the point after working with it for 2 or 3 propane refills now that we're kind of getting the hang of how it works and which section of the tank to put on. But I'll just tell you, it holds it really secure, but it also makes it harder to get off. Now, the knobs on the front are actually really weighty, and I like that. I like the look of these knobs. You can look and you can see that they have this nice silver color on the front, and they're easy to turn and know exactly where they are. Now, this is a grill that has a non-electric lighter. I find that fascinating because almost all of the grills you see today operate off of a small battery, and you stick the small battery in the grill, it causes a little electric ignition, and then the unit will light. Now with this unit, the thing that I found is that it's actually a little bit hard to tell when the flames are lit underneath the griddle because there's not a direct line of sight to the flame. Now what I found is that there are little air intake slits in the bottom of the grill, and if you look and you squint really hard, you can see through there to find out if your flames are lit, but you've got to find the right angle for that, and it's a little bit difficult. So it's a little bit inconvenient, but I am able to see that if I take a step back and look through the little air vents. Now, Pit Boss does call this griddle portable because the legs fold on the unit. You could actually take the shelf, which is located on the bottom of the frame, off by using a couple of little screw knobs that will allow that shelf to come off, and then the legs will fold in on the unit itself. So what we found is that once we've assembled it, we don't really plan on taking it anywhere, but for those of you who are considering taking this griddle with you, it does have the ability to fold and go, which is actually really nice. Pit Boss also offers a deluxe griddle, with the primary differences being that the foldable side shelves also act as a cover for the griddle, and the front panel is silver instead of painted black. Now, it's nice that you can actually use the side shelves as a cover to keep the moisture and to keep the weather off of the griddle if you're going to keep it outside. But what we found for us, this griddle is an indoor, keep it inside the garage griddle, so the cover is not really that big of an issue for us. But if you are considering having this be a completely outside unit, then you might want to think about the deluxe model to keep the top as nice as possible. Now, this top is nice and non-stick, but it will actually rust over time, especially if you don't use it for a while. So if you're considering using this griddle and then leaving it outside for, 2, 3, 4 months without cooking on it, you will see some rust residue come up on that steel. You could go ahead and knock that rust off, or go ahead and season the griddle again, and then you'd be able to use it just like you would normally. What we found is that this unit is plenty of space for us to cook. We love to make fried rice, we love to make hibachi vegetables, we love to do smash burgers, we love to do pancakes for the entire house for days. We've done breakfast on it, we've done burritos on it, we've done all types of different foods, and we found that there hasn't been anything yet that we haven't had the space for on this Pit Boss Griddle. So if you're considering a griddle of this size, just know that 37 inches wide by 20.5 inches deep is a whole lot of cooking space to be able to bring your culinary art to life. Question of the day: do you have a griddle in your outdoor cooking setup? If you don't, what would you be looking for in a griddle if you were going to be adding one to your collection? Let us know in the comments section below, as well as your thoughts on the new Pit Boss line of griddles that are new to market. So why do we do this? Why do we take the time to review griddles and grills and charcoal and gloves and all of the accessories of the barbecue world? We do this because I was just like you, and I was trying to find out what was the gear I should buy to be able to delight my friends and neighbors by having wonderful gatherings together in the backyard. We do this so you buy the good stuff and you leave the stuff that shouldn't be purchased at the store. So if you want to find out more reviews and more techniques and more videos, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell notification so you don't miss a thing. When we come out with a new video, we want you to see the best new gear and the best new accessories so you can make your outdoor cooking a hobby that is so fun for you that you want to keep coming back. Now, how do you support our channel to keep the videos coming? If you're going to be purchasing any of the items that we're talking about, feel free to use the links in the description below. Big brands like Amazon, Home Depot, Walmart, and the like will share just a small percentage of the purchase price with us so that we can be able to bring more gear in to be able to walk it through and demo it and give you a review so you know what to buy. I'm David from the Barbecue Lab, and I want to say thank you for joining us. I can't wait to see you next time as we bring you the best gear in barbecue to help you win your weekend.